Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Good evening. Welcome to Next Stage and to the final performance of Wild Goose Players, Food and Shelter. A couple of quick announcements. First of all, if you have a cell phone and it's not silenced yet, this is that beautiful opportunity to silence it. Other bits of important business, should you need to know where the exits are quickly, there's one up at the top back there. There's the two that you probably came in on both sides, exit around that way. And there's an emergency exit down here that you can exit out back here. So I want to thank Next Stage and Keith and Barry and Heather and their board for welcoming Wild Goose into the fold of Next Stage performers. This is our first year in existence, and we've done a number of performances, and we are very excited to be hosted here by Next Stage, and we look forward to continuing to work with them into the future. Wild Goose, if you want to find out more about us, you can find us at wildgooseplayers.com. And we haven't done this yet, we keep talking about it, but I want to invite you at the end of tonight's show to have a talk back if you're interested. Everybody is here. Sean Hurley, who wrote the play, is here. Greg Wilder, who composed the music, is here. All the cast, all the personnel. It is, it's not the simplest play you will ever see. For me, it is a pinnacle of my artistic work as a director to be brought a script of this caliber and to be able to try and bring it to life. So this is our last night, and I must admit I'm pretty emotional about letting it go, about not being able to play with it anymore. But I don't want to cry in front of you, so without further ado, Food and Shelter.
That was the story of how Eve Cloud found the frogs in mud. You didn't even kiss me.
I didn't think you wanted me to.
I didn't.
You're welcome.
I put out my lips. I looked like a jackass. I hate the spoons. There's no bed.
Oh, I ain't tired.
Eventually, as a human, Jesus Christ, you will become tired.
I slept on the floor mostly.
In your clothes, without a pillow and no blanket on the floor?
I'll rig something up.
Out of what? Tell me one thing you rigged up that wasn't bullshit.
We got married. I rigged that up.
Your brother rigged that up. I rigged that up. You got rigged, jackass.
Yeah, well, you got rigged too, jackass. And I had a hand in it.
If you could stop fucking sobbing, then maybe I wouldn't feel...
I ain't anymore.
You are too anymore.
No, the crying feeling's gone. These ones are just... I'm freezing a bit and overflow because of the cold. Where the old tears froed up.
Where the old tears froed up. Those spoons look like whoever it was just yanked wood off the wall and whittled out knives that accidentally looked like spoons.
Could be kindling.
4?
Oh, there might be a wood stove around here somewhere, but he might have willed spoons. I didn't really know him.
But he's totally fine with us living here.
Pretty much.
Have a house, he said. He said, hey, on account of we don't know each other and you're getting married to a girl you don't know who your brother knocked up, it only makes sense that you both go live in my cabin in the snowy woods. There's no bed, but I just made a fresh bunch of wall spoons.
He's dead. I guess, is what I mean. I think I might have shot him. He was carrying this big old wood stove. It made him look like a bear. I come running in, there he was, shot and dead in the snow. And then I followed his footsteps back here. Or someone's footsteps.
So you might have killed the man who might have lived here. But maybe not. Who knows? Which you consider someone giving you something.
Yeah.
F-U-K-C, fuck, stop crying. That's 1, 2, I wish you never started because I wanted to, and you took that shit from me. And 3, stop looking for a wood stove in the wall crack.
I'm looking for a door.
To what?
Like a hatch or a hidey hole.
And inside this hidey hole, would it be a wood stove?
Maybe. Or some money, maybe. Something to eat.
Is looking for hidey holes how you plan to provide for us?
For now, yeah.
So you're at work. There's no honeymoon for the happy newlyweds. Unless this is that too. I got myself a 3-for-1 down the local Park and Mark. Mark and Park. Park and Mark. Fuck. Me. I hate this fucking watch with all my heart. It could be like a briefcase key,
Nah.
or to the glove compartment of one of his fancy cars, or to a safe in his house.
It ain't a how.
You mean the house he lives in on the street he lives on? That house that people call his house?
Oh, it ain't a castle, but it ain't a house either. I don't know what it is.
I do, Keymouth. It's a house. If you're looking for a tiny little keyhole, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I saw it earlier, but then I forgot where it was, but then I found the key, so come try it out.
I'm gonna lie down in a bed with you, the boy who didn't kiss me when we got hitched. You ever been in a bed, or you just floored it all your days?
Come see. Find out.
Is that a thing that comes across?
That's weird. Did you hear what I said?
I heard.
Don't you want to know what's weird?
What it is that I hate when people say things where you can only say one thing back. People talk like that where all the lines are written. How are you? Good, how are you? Good, have a nice day. You fucking too. I don't want to read my side of some script you wrote. And I already know what you think is weird.
What?
The window shutter's closed.
Is that all? Because that's not all. Because they're also like iron or something.
Well, so's the door. That's not weird. Iron curtains, iron door.
Or painted sheet metal.
Wait! Okay, go ahead.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm gonna kill you with my flip-flop if you try to prove that the curtains are iron by shooting one. Go ahead. Just shoot anything you wonder about. Hey, what's that? Bang!
Just throw it already. I don't want to miss and shoot the house more than I have to. Just throw it. Aha! You see?
I did see. Hillbilly experiment was a great success, Doctor Stupid Fuck. Why walk over there and touch it with your human hand and see what it is when you can fucking shoot it?
It's bulletproof. That's why I shot the house the first time.
I super, by the way, duper unlove that with all my heart. That's my husband's first move on finding an unknown gun in a pail in a hidey hole of a man he put a bullet into was just to shoot another bullet fast as he can. Next to his pregnant wife at his new home. After telling her he'd killed a man. Welcome home, Cookie.
Maida.
The first and second thing your unborn baby ever heard is guns shooting up the family home.
I can tell you why if you want to know why.
I don't want to know why. I want you to not do it. Ever, ever, ever again. Or anything like it.
When I shot the house the first time, I noticed that my bullet didn't go on through, And then coming in, I noticed all sorts of bullet holes on the outside, but none of them showing through here. The place should be full of holes.
So it's a bulletproof house.
Well, I guess the bed has to be down for it to be a complete bulletproof house. What?
You shot a man who lives in a bulletproof house. Boy, that must have made him mad.
Well, he lives in that castle. He just hunts from here.
Go get him. Wait! What the hell?
What?
At least ask me a question here. Argue with me. Say, no, why would I do that?
Oh, well, I thought it out in my head real quick. I wasn't going to win that one, so I just skipped ahead. Do you not want me to go get him?
No, I do want you to get him. But I also don't want you to, because it makes me sick. I don't want a dead man in here who you killed melting on the floor and bleeding all over the place beside the baby. Just wanted some time to argue about it so I could get used to it so that I could know I was right. I wasn't instantly ready yet.
You ready now?
Well, I am now, I guess.
Lift the bed.
You lift it.
Lift the bed, please.
No.
Lift?
Fuck you, beloved.
The door's locked, my dear.
Unfucking lock it, love.
Unfucking lock it, love.
Knock 3 times so I know it's you.
Oh, it'll be me. And him.
3 times or I don't unfucking lock it, love.
That's a pretty standard amount of times. I mean, people knock 3 times. That's what they do. I could knock 0 times, or 1 time, or a crazy amount of times, but 3 times, that's anyone in the world. See? Could be anyone in the world.
0 times, then.
Fine. F you. Fine. I knocked 0 times at first. I did it the same way I make a kiss at you. You see a bullet whiz on through?
Aw, did someone shoot the house again, sweetie pie?
No, I knew it wouldn't go through.
Then why shoot, my dear? Why ask, my love?
Well, I wanted you to know I could be a good husband. You know, that I'm through.
That you're what?
That I'm through. That I'm checking my theories through here and through there. My last theory was whether that door was any good because I didn't see any bullet dents in it. And I guess it is. I think this is Frank Hill.
Still looks rich, even with a dead face.
Well, I guess he still is. Until someone finds out.
So he's still alive and still rich till someone finds out. Which all makes us always dead and always poor. Till someone finds out. There's nothing in his pockets?
No.
You check?
No.
He barefoot inside those rain boots?
Who cares about that?
Your dead poor wife cares about the state of his socks as a part of a deeper investigation into the nature of what the fuck? Fuck!
That one's clear.
Is that the murderer's way of talking about socks? Oh, that's smart. Check them both, killer.
Aha! Oh, it was smart. He got a sock on the second one. Huh. A one-socked man.
That is exactly the type of thing I do at a moment like this. If I was me. He didn't bleed much.
I guess.
Twist him over. So the bullet's still in there. Unless it come back out the hole it come in.
I guess.
So you could pull it out and see if it was the same type of bullet you shot.
I guess.
I mean, I'd hate to go fishing around, but if it came down to fishing around and doing something I hate to prove I didn't kill someone, well, I guess I wouldn't even think about it.
I guess.
Go fish! And do it outside and far away and bury him way out there instead of right next to the baby.
Nah.
Nah, because you're a married man who don't care if he killed someone or shot a bear?
Nah.
Nah, because I married a man who likes to shoot all the shit and never find out anything else. Just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. Houses, doors, curtains, bears, and men. That's the man I married, and here comes my life rolling down the avenue like a rock off a truck.
You married a man who don't want to find out at this particular moment that someone else shot Frank Hill. Because it's all dark outside, your husband is hoping he did shoot Frank Hill and not someone else.
Well, get him the F out of here then. And bury him the F back up and far off. Jesus!
I want to see if this ring fits his finger. His hands are all froed up in balls. If this is his ring, then this is his place.
Unless he was a prisoner and they took his things off and put him in the prisoner pail and put it in the hidey hole. Nothing's just clear like rings on fingers.
I guess.
And if it wasn't freezing in here, and they did unfreeze, and that ring don't fit.
Wasn't freezing. did unfreeze. Ring don't fit. I guess for now, I just want to know as little about this someone else until we got to.
Supper time, my love. I have made for you our very first dinner with my own 2 hands and all the zero-knock love in my heart.
I'm going bet. I guess I'm going to bet we get that one open. It'll pop open like a gun safe somewhere, like a cabinet.
Already had the pistol. Why'd he need more guns?
I don't know. Who's shooting at the house all the time?
You. You shot the house more than anyone I know. Maybe you come here every day and shoot it. You killed Frank Hill. You're trying to kill his house. You're still trying. That's what I think.
Well, I don't.
Jesus F!
What?
Drinking's bad for the baby. You probably didn't know that. Should probably put a father's stop to it. That's how much you love the baby?
I bet if I was the one who found the table, you'd still be the one sitting there.
But you didn't. And yes, that's true, but now I get to sit here and eat comfortably and while you stand there and feel like a dumbass. Maybe it's guns. Maybe it's guns. Maybe it's a brand new gun I can shoot at my old gun.
Table's just a long shot. Pop-up table. And you didn't really call it out, so.
But I knew, though. And you know I knew. And I agree. You have to be able to see a certain deep distance into the unusual possibilities of the unexpected, which I can and which this is, and then be content to tolerate your intuition at that point, which all I can do, which all tends to make me eventually right about most things. None of which all you have, which all for you comes down to simply shooting bullets at whatever the fuck's next.
It's a lot of trouble to go through just for a table no one knows about. Why not just have a table? Got a chair right there, why not hide that?
Don't you dare.
I want to test it.
Stop it! Jesus, don't!
Can I unstop or what is this? I don't like all these things being popped open.
Come lift it.
Come lift it?
I want my husband to come lift this dinner box I fetched from the household painting hole. Pretty please.
Oh, holy hell.
You want to shoot that heaviness right in the face, don't you? But you want to know what I think? I think if you shut that painting door and this tool in this dinner box ain't setting in that hole.
What?
Boom. Something, a bomb.
What?
This box is wrongly heavy. There's a weight plate in that hole. I think this place is bulletproof. I think there's food and a table in here. I think there's a bed. And I think it's booby-trapped. Tell you something?
Yeah?
It's personal. About me. All there is, really. All you need to know, and maybe you do.
It about me?
That just made me so dumb. Let me pause and get my brains back. Okay. I'm just gonna say it, even though I don't know if you can understand words. 'Cause I'm a little drunk. Me, not you. And because we're in a bit of a bind. We, not you, but a little bit you. A tad bit of a bind. That's what my granny used to say when she'd fall over. She, not you. It was easy enough to set her back up, but if no one's there, she's dead. She, not you. But I wish you. In a tad bit of a bind in the next room. And that's what maybe we are. And one of those tads in this room. I'm not dumb like you. Hey, there you are. But I have my own things. Me, not you. I'll tell him to you. But I don't want to talk about him. I don't want you to tell me I don't have him or I do have him. I don't want your opinion on him. But just to be fair about our situation, in this circumstance, because you are my everlasting husband. You! Not you. One, I don't have the strength. Two, I don't have the courage. And three, I hate myself. Me and you. For my whole life, those three things guided me here and there. They guided me to your brother, and guided me to you, and guided me to here. All this, the result of that. Because I don't have the strength or the courage, and I hate myself. And what I need to know from you is what led you here. Because if I know what led you here, what led me here, what led us here, then I can look into the depths of that and see the unusual possibilities. And then, if I can tolerate my intuition,
food and shelter. That's all I've been doing, no matter what. Just food and shelter, food and shelter, food and shelter. What led me here? Till I met you.
Darkness!
Ever tell you the story of the bald barber?
you never told me any stories.
I just wondered if he told it.
You mean your brother?
Yeah,
His name's Ever?
Everly. I called him Lee when we was kids, and then Everly one summer, and then now Ever.
He never told me any stories either.
I said it was food and shelter what led me here, but Mr. Peacock, the bald barber, did too. And that's the till I met you part.
Is that the end of the story?
Nah. I don't even know how to tell it.
I don't need to hear a story about a bald barber.
I don't know if I ever told a story.
I don't need to hear your first try at it.
The first part of the story is we was kids. It was that summer I told you about, the Everly summer.
You were 3 years old, you were 10 years old.
All I know is Everly was older, and if you added us up, we'd be less than 14. And he said I had to start calling him Everly now on account of he was trying to get a haircut job for Mr. Cockrell, the bald barber, because we were stinkers then. I didn't know why or even care. It all made sense to me back then. Or, well, nothing made sense, so I just did whatever. But in the next part of the story, I come to learn that Mr. Peacock's first name is also Everly, and so I guess he thought that would make him a shoe for the job. Anyway, part 2's coming up, so just let me think.
What?
What?
A what for the job? A shoe?
Oh, yeah. Because they got the same name, Everly thought he could be a shoe for that job.
You keep calling the barber different things. Pockles and Peacock. What is it?
Hope to land on it. Mr. Packle. Mr. Pickles. You know about them poles that spin?
A barber pole?
Yeah, Mr. Pole had one of those out front of his shop, and I used to watch it spin whenever he'd go in. And I remember I used to have all these feelings come up. I didn't even know I had them until a long time ago later. But I'd watch that pole spin, and I'd love it for a time, and then I'd hate it so much I'd think about smashing it with my rocks. And then it was like a joke, and I'd get to laughing, and I don't know how a pole has anything in it, but I just start bawling out there on my bucket. This is all while Everly was trying to work in there. He said he was like a mangy cat, scrounging around and hiding in corners. And I guess he'd do a chore if he saw one. You know, sweep up hair, fix up magazines, wash a window, I don't know. At some point, Mr. Buckle would come at him with a pair of scissors, and he'd come blasting out the door. He'd cut him sometimes, and he'd be limping or bleeding, and be yelling at him, "Hey, it's me, it's Everly," trying to get him to listen and give him that job on account of they got the same name, and I'd be on my bucket at the pole.
Is that it?
That's part 2, I guess. Now I'm thinking about part 4.
Skipping part 3 is my favorite part so far.
No, part 3 is Everly's part, and I don't know much about it. For me, part 3 is just a pole still. For Everly, it was when Mr. Hopper stopped trying to cut him out and just let him be. And I guess this was the part where Everly saw the hair. If this part had a name, that's what I call it. Part 3, the hair. But I wasn't there, so I don't know how to tell it. Part 4 is when I learned about the hair. And that's when Everly came out and he said, "Hey, come on in here." And I went in. And I'd never been in. And I guess I didn't think I could go in. Back then, I always thought everything would get me killed or tossed in jail. Didn't matter what. I always felt like it was against the law to be anywhere except on my bucket. Oh, wait a minute. I messed it up.
How about a side part to part 4? Called part 4A, the bucket.
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was a bucket.
I just had a bucket that I carried on me is all. I kept a few things in it, like a case, like my lucky rocks and my little book. And I'd stand on it or sit on it if we went somewhere and I had to stay behind or it wasn't safe and I wasn't supposed to move. I'd go right for my bucket. I guess that's the end of that part.
What did you do when you sat on it or you stood on it?
Just stand on it or sit on it.
No, I mean with the rocks and the little book.
I just rubbed my rocks together for luck or read my little book over and over again because I was trying to learn the rule of that book. What I messed up was I didn't just go in after Everly. This is back to part 4 again. I hated going in any place, mostly because they'd say, "Leave that bucket outside." And there's nothing for me to do inside anyway. So I said, "No, thank you, Everly." He dragged me in anyway. And I felt wrong in there. And Everly, he wrapped me up tight, he cut my mouth, and he was choking on me some, on top of me, on the ground, trying to get me down, get me quiet. And I fought at him, and then I started drowning, and he let up a bit. And then I heard this snoring, which is why I thought I was drowned, because I always thought that was the sound of the sea. The sound of the sea crashing on the sky and the clouds, and I thought, well, Guess I'm drowned now. But it was just Mr. Parnell, sound asleep in his own barber chair. So Everly, he gets me up, and he brings me close to this mostly bald old head. Now, he's not completely bald, but just on the top of his head. And the rest of his hair is just perfectly neat and razor-cut like shapes, like a white belt. And so Everly, he's pushing my face closer and closer to that bald head, and then he uncupped my mouth, and his fingers went out and grabbed at some invisible thing growing out of the top of Mr. Bull's head. And then he flowed his fingers out along it so that I could see it was this one long silver hair growing out of the top of Mr. Prell's head. And somehow, even though he must have cut his own hair and razored those white shapes every day to show the kind of good haircut you get at his place, he'd missed this one long hair that went flowing out across the room. I don't even know what happened next, but somehow Everly handed me the hair, and there I was holding on to this one long hair, and Everly crawling on the floor and skinning around and opening things, and I couldn't even move at first. I just kept saying, "Could you go get my bucket? Could you go get my bucket, please?" I couldn't even get to breathe. It was like I was on a place like another planet or the moon, and I never got on any rocket, and I never wanted to go there, but suddenly I'm standing on the moon, and Everly's just crawling around, skidding on the floor, opening things and closing things, and he keeps whispering, "Hey, stop spinning. Hey, quit spinning. Hey, hold still," because I'd started to spin a bit, I guess, because I was thinking about my pole, like how I'd become the pole, and I'd be standing there spinning forever, and there was nothing I could do about it, because I either had to have my bucket or be the pole.
Quit rolling around, Jesus!
I can in a second when Everly comes back. Okay, he's back. So Everly's back. And I'm a bald barber pole on the moon holding on to this one long hair, and Everly's found what he's looking for. He's got this stick measure. And he unclicks it, click by click. And he's got a laugh building up, I can tell, because he's starting to huff and shake. And he lays the tape measure on the floor, measures the hair out across the room, and he stands for a second, and he says to me, "You know how long a hair grows in a year?" And I didn't, because I didn't know anything like that, but he did, from almost working at a haircut place, and he says 12 inches. 12 inches a year, he says. And that means this here hair has been growing for over 14 years. That means this here hair is older than you and me combined. And that means not only did Mr. Brewer miss it all them years, but nobody told him. And that means Mr. Bauer ain't been loved in 14 years at least, because there's no one to get close enough to him that cares enough to tell him, and not even a regular customer who cares enough to say it.
This hair is 14 feet long.
It went flowing out across the room.
He never stepped on it. Nobody ever stepped on it.
I don't know, but part 5 is Everly making me cut that hair. And then part 6 is me running off wild into the woods. And part 7 is Everly keeps getting it in my pocket and whispering, 14 years, nobody loves you. More years or less love and you've been alive. 15 years, nobody loves you. More years or less love and you've been alive. And every year that hair gets longer and longer and longer. And part 8 is he keeps getting it back in my pocket. And I run off to drop it or ditch it in secret somewhere. And Everly would search and 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 find it and get it back into my pocket. And then I'd run off to lose it again and again. And it just kept getting longer and longer until finally in part 9, he come up to me one day. He cut my mouth, he choked me down, he wrapped me all up in it so I couldn't move until finally I said, "Okay, I'll keep a hold of it." I can show it to you if you want to see it. I don't know where it is, but it's always around me somewhere. So that's what led me here too, I guess. It's food and shelter in part 10. 16 years, nobody loves you. More years or less love, you've been alive. 17 years, nobody loves you. More years or less love, you've been alive. 18 years, nobody loves you. More years or less love than you've been alive. 18 years, nobody loves you. More years or less love than you've been alive. Lights.
Darkness!
Lights.
Darkness!
I won't see. Welcome. What the world says goes.
Don't you dare.
I want to test it. You don't wear no underwear?
You don't. Mr. Zipper. And why's this mean that?
I thought all girls did.
Maybe all girls do. Maybe girls just go right through. Matches. Figure out how to flush it. One thing in the whole world and I trip on it! Jackass! I can't sleep with you like this, doing this.
I'm just trying to figure it out.
I'd rather they shoot up the house again than try and fall asleep with you standing on a pail rubbing rocks all night.
I'm just trying to feel it out.
Feel what out?
It looks like my old bucket. It feels like my old bucket, but it's not doing what my old bucket used to do, so I don't know.
What can an old bucket used to do?
It's okay now, my old bucket said. This bucket ain't saying nothing.
Oh, it's mine. This, I painted it.
I know.
No, you don't, jackass. I hardly know.
Ever told me you painted some paintings? When I asked about you, that's what he said. She painted some paintings.
I painted some paintings like 10 years ago. I didn't think this was maybe mine until that bucket was maybe yours.
Okay.
So how the F-U-K you think you know this exact one's mine?
Well, you're the only one I know who's painted paintings, and that's the only painting I ever seen. Or I might have seen some other ones, but I never looked at them, because I don't look at made-up things, because I never follow why anyone would do that. How come you painted it?
I don't know, I just painted it.
Did you set up in the woods and look at the house and paint it? Because maybe you saw If I Shot Frank Hill.
Nope, I just painted it.
But you must have seen this place.
Nope, I just painted it.
Well, because that's this place yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I shot him, way off there. That's a wood stove he was carrying that made him look like a bear. And then I followed them footsteps that come through them trees. And that's our footsteps from where we come, yours and mine.
These?
So I guess we're in there now.
But if you dragged them into the cabin, then those ones wouldn't be there. You would have dragged them all away.
No. I had to carry him to bring him on home. He was too heavy to pull in the snow like that. That's when I thought maybe he was still alive because he was moving around some, but I think that was just me getting weak. And that's where we toppled over, right there, what that shadow is.
How does this make the most fucking clear sense in the world to you?
Well, I carried him, so that's how it was. Yeah. 2 sets of footsteps, the wood stove, the mound where he's buried, our path to the door. Yeah, that's about right. You painted it right. I guess you were a pretty good painter.
I painted this 10 years ago, jackass.
You knew what you were doing. I can't see a fault in it.
Do you even know what a fucking painting is?
Not a lot, but I know this is one.
It's not a, I never heard of someone having to explain what a painting is to someone who don't know what a painting is. I was 7. I lived with my granny who was blind, okay?
Okay.
And she was a painter, but she couldn't paint anymore when she went blind, so I started up until...
Okay.
But I just painted whatever stupid little girl fucking painter shit came to mind. Unicorns with major injuries in the fucking Rainbow Valleys, or cabin in the snowy woods where something...
Okay.
There's nothing real about it. A painting ain't a prediction of the future, you get that?
Okay. Well, this one is. So you can't blame me. You know, I thought a story like I told was something that comes from the past. And when I saw this, I thought, oh, that's what a painting is. A thing that sets out the future. Now I can start looking at a painting and know what's coming next. That's what I thought. Holy hell.
What?
There's a dang chimney with smoke coming up. First thing in the morning, I'm gonna fetch that wood stove from the woods, start a fire, thaw them fingers, and check that ring. Because you know what this is.
No.
Could be tomorrow. Could be a painting of tomorrow.
Lights. Made of marble and glass and brick and the finest silk. You can't go wrong on a chilly morning making your way to your new vestibule, which welcomes us on in high style to the great room. Fresh from a skiing expedition that welcomed you on through your own personal force. What could be better than collapsing with your own personal husband on a matching set of bearskin rugs, welcoming you on to a blazing fire, roaring and crackling away in your very own personal wood stove? I know you're there.
I know I am too. What's matching bearskin rugs?
It's 2 rugs that were bears that match. They were twins.
I didn't know bears had that.
The wood stove should be right here.
No, chimney's back left corner, so it should be right here.
Nope, it should be here.
Oh, no, check the painting. It's back left, which is right here.
Maybe it is over there, jackass, but maybe you gotta do something over here to get it to be over there.
Like what?
Not slap it is all I know so far.
I thought I was going to fetch the bear stove from the woods.
And how are you gonna get out?
Window.
And who's waiting to shoot you dead when you do that?
Someone else.
And so maybe we don't do that. Also, because Mrs. Dandy says we got one in here somewhere on this wall.
Okay. What?
I just did my Mrs. Dandy on this place and saved your life. I was dowsing like Mrs. Dandy.
Okay. What?
Dowsing, it's where you have sticks and you look for water.
Okay. What?
People all over the world, if they need to find water, they get a dowser, and that dowser walks around until their sticks flip. And then they dig, and that's where the water is.
Okay. What?
So, all over the world, people buy some land, and then they need to find water. So a dowser walks around with some sticks. Everybody in the world finds water like that, and then they forget about it and don't believe it exists. Everything in the world's like that. It started on a make-believe that everyone forgot. So, they go all around the land, and when the spoons go down, that's where they dig. That's where the water is. Oh, spit it out, you dumb fuck! That's seawater!
From the sea?
They'll kill you, dumbass! Oh my God. You're probably gonna die now. But that's how come I know the wood stove is somewhere on this wall.
Maybe you gotta do it again.
Mrs. Dandy never did it more than once.
Okay. Who?
It was a book. It was a game I played. She was my mother. She lived outside in a tree and was a bird. I read all the Mrs. Dandy books. Mrs. Dandy finds the field, Mrs. Dandy in the lost forest, Mrs. Dandy and the missin' pie. Mrs. Dandy knows where all the lost things are. And the way she finds them is like what I did, dancing around and smiling and whispering instead of using spoons or sticks to find it. But she can't see, so I close my eyes. Even though I can't either. Mrs. Dandy was only happy when things were bad. When a good everything's gone and the world needs a friend. And then she'd dance around and show how when everything was bad because something was gone, there was still all these good things you could find. The only way to find the lost forest was to see how beautiful the rock was. This rock is as old as time itself. It's full of mirrors and starlight and a small bone of the universe. And because of that, she'd be able to find a path and some grass, and then she'd whisper how beautiful those were, and that's what welcomed her on. She was always being welcomed on. And now I am being welcomed on by the fucking brook. And that's the only way she found the field or the forest, whatever was missing. I couldn't stand Mrs. Dandy with all my heart. I always wanted her to step in one of those bear traps, because Eve Cloud was always after her, trying to stop her. I used to read and read those books, hoping that Eve Cloud would win, because I thought back then that a story had to change to what she wanted it to be. But it's the exact opposite. It always becomes more and more of what it is. So I was angry every time Mrs. Dandy found the fucking shoe or the warm pie on the windowsill.
You don't like pie?
Of course I like pie, jackass! I just didn't like that the only way you got things was by loving all the shit along the way that wasn't pie. I hated frogs and mud. And Mrs. Dandy always came upon frogs and mud. That was huge, and Mrs. Dandy, and boy, did they welcome her on. It's when I started painting like Eve Cloud used to do.
Okay, who?
She was her daughter. But Mrs. Dandy forgot all about that. And Eve Cloud would always try and make Miss Dandy not find whatever it was, because she wanted her mother to find her first. So she'd set up traps and try and trick her. She'd say, "It's just an ugly old rock, Miss Dandy. It don't mean nothing. Hey, where's your daughter, by the way?" And when Mrs. Dandy finally found the lost thing, Eve Cloud pretends she didn't. "I can't see it. It ain't there, Miss Dandy." "But your daughter is." And Mrs. Dandy would sit and eat the warm pie, and Eve Cloud pretends she's eating nothing but cold, dark air. And then later that night, Eve Cloud would come back looking for the pie, because secretly she wanted some. But all she'd ever find were frogs and mud down in the pit. Which all's the only thing I ever found. The first line of every Mrs. Dandy went, "This is the story of how Mrs. Dandy finds the missing pie." And then the last line would be, "That was the story of how Eve Cloud found the frogs and mud." There was always this same exact picture of Eve Cloud on the last page of the book, taking a big breath because she knew she was going to sink down into that mud forever. And so I'd write my own bubble talk and the pictures for what she was saying. And I'd write, "Fuck you, Miss Dandy, you goddamn bitch. Hope you like the fucking forest." Or whatever it was, pie or shoe, or whatever she got fucking welcomed onto in that book. Jesus fucking jackass Christ. This better not be.
Mr. Pockle's here, Mrs. Dandy. Welcoming us on. And that was the story of how Mrs. Dandy found the fire.
That was the story of how Eve Cloud found the frogs in mud.
Fuck you, Mrs.
Fuck
Dandy, you
Miss
goddamn
Dandy,
bitch!
You goddamn bitch!
Hope you like the
Hope
fucking
you like
forest!
the fucking forest!
Is it one thing or is it everything?
Shh. I'm asleep. Is what one thing?
How you hate yourself? Is it one thing or is it everything?
What would you hate about me if you were me?
Well, me, I guess.
You mean the thing I'd hate about me is you if I was me, or I'd hate everything about me if I was me?
I guess I was trying to pretend what it was like to be you, and I couldn't. So I just picked me. Maybe I don't know how to do it.
Well, that's easy. Get up. Now first, do your eyes like this. Then do like this with your arms, and like this with your legs. Like you got the weight of the world on you. And then take a big breath. And then you're gonna hold it. But blow out your cheeks like you want to pop your eyes across the room and make your hair shoot out like porcupines to kill everyone who ever lived. And then make your body hard as a rock. Every muscle until you start to shake. And then never, ever, ever stop. So like that, but all of the time.
You don't ever do that.
That's all I ever do. Now do you.
Do what?
Do what you do. Tell me how to do what you do.
Okay. Just do whatever I say.
Okay. For example,
Like if I say something, you gotta do it. Or if anyone does, you gotta do it.
okay. For fucking example.
What the world says goes. I don't do anything, I just got a rule, and that's my rule.
A rule.
You ever read the book, World Gum? Says the rule right on it, what the world says goes.
The gum with a little newspaper wrapped around the gum.
It's my little book.
And the gum newspaper was called The World, and the only thing on it was a cartoon of a stupid chicken that was always the same, but with a different stupid caption. I hated that gum with all my heart.
It was gum? What was it?
Yeah, gum.
Gum?
Yeah. Gum. You chew it?
Oh.
Do you even know what gum is?
I thought it was a rule. I thought it was my little book.
You thought a little thing of gum was what?
I thought
It's gum.
back then.
You mean a minute ago?
I don't know when.
It's world gum. It tasted like bad toothpaste. It was like a green sky and it was hard as a rock. And that same stupid chicken. You buy it at the Martin Park. Fuck.
Oh.
You eat it. You chew it. It says gum on it.
I thought it was a rule.
A what?
I thought a book was a rule.
A rule about what?
Oh, what the rule was, what to do next, how to live. That was the only book I had, so that was my rule.
Gum was a rule.
What the world says goes. Says so right on the back. And that's my rule.
It is just gum.
Oh.
It says gum on it. World gum.
I thought that was like daggum. Like it meant something that I didn't know about being the biggest rule. Like above all them rules, there's something called world gum, which means here's the biggest rule, which is gum. Cockadoodle don't.
You eat it. It's gum. What the world says. Goes poof. Did you fucking eat it?
You told me to.
You swallowed it?
Cockadoodle do. Darkness.
I bet you thought being married to me we'd have sex all the time.
Maybe one time. One day. Way, way off in the distance.
You probably never even had sex.
You probably never did either.
Do you even know where babies come from?
Yeah.
Where?
From the woods, sometimes. Sometimes the sea.
That ain't even close to being far away from right.
From the mountains? From way, way out in the distance?
Babies come from having sex. And this is our baby right here. It's your brother's baby, and now your baby. In my belly. Got a baby coming and you never even had sex.
Almost did.
With.
You.
Oh. And when did we almost have this?
At the painting. When you got closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and you touched my face.
That was when I was trying hard to make us both dead with the booby trap bomb I thought was in there. Do you even know what sex is?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a sex.
When the tongues touch, and both people want them to, because of love.
And you wanted your little tongue to touch mine, because then that would be love.
I guess.
Do you even know what love is?
I mean, we're married.
That don't mean a thing.
It means we're trying at it. What I thought is that I'd try at it.
How are you gonna do that?
Just try and try. And then there's like a hole inside. And something goes in there a little bit. No, something good shows up and goes in there a little bit. So that's what goes in there a little bit. What shows up? And that's what it is.
What goes in there a little bit?
Well, something like you goes in there a little bit.
Well, I don't want to go in there. Any bit. I want to be long gone from there.
Okay.
Am I still in there?
Yeah.
Well then, okay. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. If we're in each other's holes so much.
You sure?
Oh, yeah. That ain't what having sex is, you big dumb baby, and loving a hole where something good shows up.
Yeah, it is.
No, it ain't.
It is for me.
It ain't.
For me, it is.
No, it ain't. For anybody else. For no fucking one else in the whole fucking this world. But you think it's tongues touching because of love, which is a fucking hole inside where no one ever goes, and babies coming out of the sea.
Well, guess we're tinkers again. Sometimes me and Lee wouldn't have anything for a long time. This is back when I called him Lee. And in those times, when we were in those times, Lee would get to know we was in those times, and he'd say, well, guess we're tinkers again. I'd probably start crying because being a tinker was the worst thing for us to be because that meant we were set out for the long haul. So later on, if he said that, I'd say, hey, maybe we should do it drastically. Because drastic always meant our tinker times was nearly done. So one time, we went a long time as tinkers, and it didn't seem like we was going to find a drastic. But then we came upon this pile of old coiled up ropes, and Lee said, well, guess it's time to do a drastic. You know what a puppet on a rope is?
A marionette?
No, it's a puppet that works on ropes. Instead of putting your hand up inside it, you got all these ropes. So we took them old ropes to the park, and Lee climbed up the main tree and dropped them all down. Ropes! And And then I tied him on. And then if someone came along, Lee would yank me up, and up I'd go. Or he'd move the arm ones around like this. Or he'd yank out the leg ones and I'd go down. But that's about all he could do with them ropes, because they was thick as thieves. So Lee said I had to step up and do my own kind of puppet stuff. He couldn't do all the work because we get these kids watching and they get bored if it was just arms going around and a puppet falling down. You can do that about 2 times before a kid will leave. So I had to come up with my own kind of show. Come to learn, I got a puppet voice and could do a puppet story. Ich mag Bucklebrick.
You said you never told a story, liar.
No, this is a puppet story. It comes from a puppet voice. Yeah? All right. So, I'd start out on my bucket like this, and then if a kid had come along, Lee would yank me up, and then I'd climb down off my bucket, and then put my bucket on my head. And then I'd say, Ich mag Bucklebrick, la do da du Bucklepeck, zu reva dumbletech, retuska ordinary. Didn't matter, a little boy or a little girl would say.
What's that puppet saying?
Tell us what you're saying, puppet.
And I'd say,
Retuska ordinary.
The whole thing wasn't about the kids at all. We're just trying to get them to stay on long enough till Frank Hill come over. And Frank Hill will only stay in the puppet show for a second before he starts to pull his kids away. So at that point, I'd take my bucket off my head and stand on it and shout out the whole thing to kind of stun them into staying on. Ich mag Bucklebrick, la du da du Bucklepeck, zum rava dumbletech, retuska adamere. And that's when Lee would yank me up by the neck rope, and I'd start to hang. And Lee would shout at him, I'll let him go, I'll let him go, I'll let him go if someone gives him $1. And I'd come to you later with $1, and we wouldn't be tinkers no more. But one time, Frank Hill was there when I come to, and he'd sent off Lee to fetch some doctor in some castle somewhere. And I was just coming back when a little kid said,
What's that puppet saying, Pop?
and Frank Hill said,
Ian Puppet Talk. That puppet said he's going to sea. So, I guess he's going to sea.
and that's what hit me so hard when he said those words. It was like I was a bell. And for the first time, I got rung. And it was that rung me, going to sea. And I thought, I didn't even know I could ring. I didn't even know I was a bell. So I thought if just hearing about going to sea could ring my bell, then being in the sea, or even just going to it, well, I guess I thought I'd just start ringing and ringing. So I put my bucket back on my head, and Frank Hill said,
Wait here for the doctor.
I said, no, sir, because I'm going to sea now. And I've been going to sea ever since. I don't know how to get up there yet, but that won't stop me. Because the higher I get, the better I'll be at getting there, and sometimes I can hear it sleeping on the clouds. So, if I'm ever gone, it's just because I figured out how to go to sea. Because I'm just going to keep on going to sea. And the higher I get, the more I'll ring, the more of a bell I'll be. And that's how come I'm always heading there now.
Do you even know what the sea is?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a sea.
Somewhere up there, down below the stars and above the sky and in between the clouds and hard to see. That's why it's called the sea. But it sounds like Mr. Parnell. sound asleep in his own barber chair. And that's why it's so hard to get there, because it's so hard to know where it is, and you can't see it. And you can only hear it sometimes. And sometimes that ain't even it, but just someone sound asleep.
So you've been going to sea the whole time. It's not food and shelter, or Mr. Pockle's hair, or what the world says goes. It's going to sea.
Even after I've gone to sea, I'll keep on talking to you.
I wouldn't hear, because I wouldn't be there.
To the hole inside where you'd be a little bit. I'd say things.
Saying what?
What do you want me to say?
I'm drowning.
I'm drowning.
I'm exhausted. I can't swim. So many sharks.
I'm exhausted. I can't swim. So many sharks.
I don't have the strength. I don't have the courage. I hate myself.
I don't have the strength. I don't have the courage. I hate myself.
I don't even know what the sea is. I was wrong about everything because I slept on a bucket and rubbed 2 rocks.
I don't even know what the sea is. I was wrong about everything because I slept on a bucket and rubbed 2 rocks.
I thought babies came from the sea. I thought sex was 2 tongues touching because of love. I thought love was a hole inside where something good showed up. Thought gum was a book, and my book was a rule, and my rule was what the world says goes.
I thought babies came from the sea. I thought sex was 2 tongues touching because of love. I thought love was a hole inside where something good showed up. I thought gum was a book. My book was a rule. And my rule was what the world says goes.
That is the story of how Mrs. Dandy found the sea. That was the story of how Eve Cloud found the frogs in mud. Darkness.